Hello again, and welcome back to Bit by Bit, episode 4, our final episode for now. Today we're going to be talking about open mic tips and tricks, and as promised, I'll be concluding this episode with my rule number 1 for performing stand-up comedy. Now, this is one of the simplest and at the same time most intimidating steps when it comes to performing. You have to get out there and just say it to the world. So we'll try to go through this quick and easy, just to make it seem a little less intimidating than it is. Now, your first step, of course, is going to be to find an open mic. These typically take place on weekdays, anywhere from Monday to Thursday, with occasional shows happening on Sunday. Friday and Saturday nights, while they would be more fun to perform at, are typically reserved for the headliners. Now, you can find these shows online, of course, with places like Facebook being a good place to start, as well as posters around town if you keep an eye out. Now, I actually find the best way to find new shows is by going to shows. It sounds redundant, but 80% of the shows I've found have been from just finding one the old-fashioned way, be it online or through a poster, and then going there and asking the comedians where else they perform. Now, once you find one of these open mics, you'll find there are 2 times: the show start and the sign up. The show start is exactly what it sounds like. It's when the show starts. The sign up is also exactly what it sounds like. It's when you sign up. It typically takes place 30 minutes before, so let's say the show starts at 8, sign up will be at 7:30. The host will come out with a piece of paper on a clipboard or on a book, and comedians will come up and just sign up in the order that they want. These sign-up sheets can follow a sort of honor system where those who showed up to the place first are given priority and put at the front of the line, but this isn't always the case. That being said, it is good practice to show up at most an hour early just to make sure you get a good spot. And by good spot, I don't mean first. I would not recommend going first at your first open mic. The sweet spot is generally 5th to 10th, as that's about where the audience starts to warm up. Now, once you've signed up, it's a good idea to figure out how much time you're given on stage. You can either ask the host of the event or other comedians, but if you can't figure it out or maybe you're shy, the general rule is that performers are given anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. This time limit is set at a maximum, and going over is kind of considered bad manners as you're eating into the time of the next performer. Because of this, it's actually good practice to time your sets to be slightly under time, but we'll get more into that later. Just to be safe, if you don't know how much time you're given, plan for 3 minutes, as that's the minimum any open mic will give you. Now, the way they mark whether or not you're over time is when you have a minute left, they will give you a light, which is just typically a lighter or a flashlight, whatever it is. And then when you have no time left, they'll give you a flashing light. This is also why it's good to go later in the show so you get to see where the light is and just in general where you should be keeping your eye out for how much time you have left. Okay, so you're at the open mic, you've signed up, you're about to go up, and you're nervous. That's completely reasonable. And like I said before, it can actually be a good sign that you're nervous as it shows that you're taking it seriously. However, I can understand how you wouldn't want to carry this energy with you on stage. So I'm going to give you a checklist of things that you can do to get more comfortable. The first is something we've already talked about: timing your set. Now, like I said, it's bad manners to go over time, but that doesn't mean you should time your set to be exactly 3 minutes. I guarantee if you have 3 minutes on stage and you time out your set to be 2 minutes and 59 seconds, you will be out of there in 1 minute. This is because in the back of your head, you'll subconsciously be thinking, oh, I only barely have enough time, I can't go over time, I need to say this as fast as I can, and you'll say it so fast the audience will understand anything you're saying, and then you're just going to stumble over your words, and then you'll be out of there, and it'll be done, and it's not that good. Because of this, I typically time my sets to have 20 seconds of leeway. This way, I don't have to even worry about having too much time, because 20 seconds on stage is unbelievably long. It's like Interstellar, every second there is like 10 years on Earth. This gives me enough time to let the audience laugh and have a few unexpected turns, and also subconsciously lets me know that I have enough time to take those tangents without going over. I mean, in general, you want to give the audience time to laugh. That's why you're there. Now, the second piece of advice is to pause. Just like that. This might seem like a waste of your precious time on stage, but trust me, not only does this give you time to breathe, but it will save some of your best jokes. Listen, you've heard these jokes before, but for the audience, this is their first time. They might need a second to catch up with you. I can't tell you how many great jokes I've seen scrapped just because the comedian blitzed through them and didn't give the audience enough time to laugh or even think. So yeah, just in general, take a deep breath, pause every once in a while, and you'll find that your delivery starts to become a lot more natural a lot more fluid. Also, I recommend going back to that watch list of comedians you built in episode 1 and paying attention to how long the comedian pauses for. Typically, you don't notice it because you're laughing so hard, and that's exactly why the comedian does it. And it's a great practice to start with your own comedy. The next piece of advice here is just to speak clearly. It kind of relates to the last two, but I think it's still important to say you can waste your punchlines if you just don't say them coherently enough. So yeah, just in general, take a deep breath. Don't rush through it, all in an effort to speak more clearly. And the last little piece of advice might just be a me thing, but it could also help you too, and that's just to familiarize yourself with your surroundings. I do this in a few subtle ways. On stage, there's typically a mic, a stand, and a stool. So what I do is I get on stage, shake the hand of the host as they're coming off, get on stage, take the mic off the stand, move the stand to the side as you don't want it in front of you while you're talking, put your notebook and phone or whatever you need to on the stool. That's it. You familiarize yourself with the space. You're like, all right, this goes here, this goes here. It's a little subconscious effort to be like, all right, I'm doing this now. So yes, when performing or rehearsing, just keep these 4 things in mind and you're sure to have a more smooth experience on stage. So you've done it. That's it, right? You completed your performance, you're off stage, it went good, it went bad. Doesn't really matter. You get to say that it's over and you did it. So you can leave now, right? Yes, you absolutely can. It's always an option. You can leave in the middle of your set if you want. However, I'd recommend sticking around for the whole show. Again, this is more of a banners thing, but it's nice to stick around for all the performers who stuck around to watch yours. It's also a good way to get to know some of the other performers if you stick around till after the show and just talk with them. Everyone at that open mic was at your position at some point, and there's typically a lot of respect for first-timers. If you walk up to any experienced comedian at an open mic and say, hey, I liked your set, I was just wondering if you had any advice for me, they will typically be more than happy to give you some. Comedians are a very welcoming group. We're not the most common type of performer out there, so we're very enthusiastic when someone else wants to try out the art form. So, with that, I guess it's time I say my last thing, which is technically my first thing, my number 1 rule for comedy. Now, as the name suggests, this is the first thing I think of with every performance. The one truth I try to keep intact throughout my comedic practices, and that is 4 simple words. Don't blame the audience. Let me explain why I say this. Comedy as an art form is pretty unique in that it only exists when it's being witnessed by an audience. You can perform music to yourself, but for comedy, you need someone there to laugh. This means you are always in the splash zone for feedback. Either they laugh or they don't, and that's what's so great about it. No matter how good or bad a show goes, you can always walk away from it learning something. And it's why you can exponentially grow as a comedian. This is why I've chosen this to be my number 1 rule, because it helps you to avoid negating that core aspect of comedy that you can constantly be improving if you just take the feedback. I can't tell you how many comedians I've seen go up on stage, perform horribly, get off stage and be like, man, the audience sucks tonight. That's a really bad habit to form. And I'm not saying that because the audience is always superb. There's definitely some shitty audiences out there. All I'm saying is you gain nothing from blaming them. Every comedian I see that blames the audience has plateaued in their skill level because they never take the feedback. They never see a need to develop their jokes because they're not the issue, it's the audience. Look at it this way. You can either explain to the whole audience why they're wrong and that they should be laughing, or you can change the actual person you have control over yourself. Just rework the joke. Ultimately, you're doing this to please the audience, so no matter what their feedback is, it shouldn't be ignored. It's up to you to take responsibility for how they react, and in doing so, there is no limit to how much you can develop as a comedian. With that, I can't really think of a better way to end this series, so I'm gonna call it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I might do more of these, but for now, these are the only episodes I have planned. I've been having fun making them and editing them and been learning a whole lot, and I hope it helps some of you guys out there. Also, if you're looking for more content like this about developing jokes and that sort of thing, this whole series was actually based off of a podcast me and my friends did a while ago of the same name where we developed one of my daily jokes. So if you're interested in that, I'll put that link down in the description and you can go check that out. Thank you guys again so much for watching bit by bit, and as always, have a good one.